Hey, we're here today in the Guru's main helper's yard. We're going. Got Rick Bricks is his
Yeah, that's
name.
correct. Rick
He's come up
Briggs.
here to get this gargantuan feeder to hold 700 pounds of feed. Rick, I'm gonna let you get started on your questions here. I know you had 4 or 5 of them when we was talking earlier. Which one's the one you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the opportunity, and we've had some discussions before I ended up buying this, and I did a lot of research before ending up with the double D gravity feeder. But so you answered a lot of questions before, so we'll kind of go through a few of them.
Well, earlier you asked me about raccoons and
Yeah,
why I am so set on it. If I can't keep them out of this feeder, we come get it and give you your money back. But we've made a lot of improvement. We even made an improvement here lately. We had a couple of guys that they had jumping coons. They actually were jumping up in the feeder. So what we did was we come here. This used to come flat down. Now it slopes down. So if he does, he still don't have anything to grab. Basically, what we've done is eliminated 2 things with that. We eliminate any waste on the ground. Now, if you set this feeder up properly, level or tilted back a little bit, there's no feed coming out on the ground. So there's no coons going to hang out there anyway. Second thing we've done is we eliminated everywhere he could grab, these little claws and stuff. And that was the last thing we did there. And it's been what, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. We've come up with that there part. We changed that design so it would work. Now, earlier you was asking about how you going to get it to the where you going to put it. That's the other
yeah,
thing. Uh, you're going to have to get it as close as you can. I tell people take this stuff here off the top of the roof, get it as close as you can to where you're going to put it, and then you're going to get behind it, and you'll come back here. You'll pick up on it a little bit and just pull on it. Now it's kind of hard to pull it uphill, but
yeah,
that's the way you would do it until you won't have this extra weight up here.
hmm
Now to fill it, set it up. You're going to want to set it up to where the back of the feeder is facing the way the fronts are coming.
yeah. We talked about that, and that.
Yeah, and you're going to be in Georgia. Is
Yeah,
Georgia?
yeah,
Okay, Georgia. I can tell you because that's where I'm at most of the time. The fronts are going to be coming from the west, and they're going to go across the state or come up a little bit southwest. So you want to put the back of this feeder to the west southwest at that angle. You just eliminate 80% chance of water getting in it.
yeah. Because that was my number one question
Yeah, how to
when
keep the
looking at
feed
this
dry.
was, all right, how am I going to keep the feed?
I mean, that's what we tell people. You turn it that way, you just eliminated a lot of the 80% chance of any water getting in it. Every now and then, I've been in Georgia for a while. In fact, that's where these were created at, was in Georgia. We had a couple of rains here lately where the wind was coming in a different direction. We got a little bit of water in it. But I could take a 5 gallon bucket and put all the protein pellets in it I've lost in, what, 12 years?
Yeah.
So I'll go with those odds against anything else. Now,
Well,
to load this one here, go ahead. You had a question?
well, no, I was just going to make a point, and it would help to sell me on it is even if some of the protein pellets get wet in the bottom, like you mentioned, the deer are going to eat that
Yeah.
up before. It's not like it's getting into the
But
hopper feeder or anything like that,
not
getting
only
it
that, let
wet.
me show you what's going to happen too. Is once those pellets get in there, so they get damp,
Yeah.
not totally wet and broke up. Even if they break up, unless there's just gobs of water got in there,
hmm
they're going to dry out on it. And once they dry out, then the deer they're going to go into dust in here. Well, the deer still eat that dust,
Yeah.
so you won't lose that value of those pellets that you had in there.
Gotcha.
But what I was getting at before that, I was going to show you how you load it. Now, on some of them, you can take the lid off. You could take the lid off of it if you wanted to. On these bigger ones, I just slide that up, put my feed in,
hmm
just bring it straight back.
Yeah, and that's nice because where I'm putting in a major reason why I called you and was contacting you about this is because I wanted something that I could put into the bedding area
Yeah,
and way back in there where I wasn't gonna go and with the other feeders and stuff. I was constantly having issues with batteries or squirrels chewing through the plastic tubes or you name it, I was having issues with it. So I wanted something to put back into the bedding area, leave the deer alone, not hunt over it or anything like that, and that was going to last a long time.
uh,
And so that was a major reason why I contacted you and learned more about this feeder. And the fact that I don't have to bring a ladder way back in there is nice too, because I can just throw it on the 4-wheeler and then
Yeah,
just throw it in
what
there,
I
which will
do
make it
on these
nice.
the bigger ones, I'll stand it on. I got a little '90 Honda scooter,
Hmm.
and if I use it, I just stand on the seat, so I don't, I'm put it in there without any trouble.
Yeah.
The larger feeders now we set them up on our property there in Georgia, where we can use a tractor with a pallet, and we take them up there, stand on the pallet, and fill them.
Yeah.
Then once you close them with, in this one here, you go to start with probably 2 months before you have to worry with it again once you fill it up. And to get them started on protein, if that's what you want to go to, you would start 50% corn, 50% protein. To start with, you'd put 100 pounds of corn in the feeder.
Yeah.
Leave it alone, which ain't gonna be hard for you. You told me you don't get up there all the
Yeah.
time, so you do that, and that way you can the deer get accustomed to the feeder. Once they're accustomed to the feeder, then you go to mixing it with protein, and that gets them onto the protein. Once they're onto the protein, you get rid of the corn because corn draws squirrels.
Yeah.
And that was another one of your
That
questions
was.
that we covered. Yeah, if you put squirrel feed in, I'm sorry, folks, you're gonna get squirrels. I mean, I guess if you put elephant feed in there, you get elephants if they were in the neighborhood.
That is true.
You will definitely get squirrels. I can't. I mean, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I didn't ask you before was like how the gravity system works, and I don't know if I've watched a lot of your videos on there. I don't know if I've
Okay.
seen an explanation of that.
What
So
happens is, and right now this feeder, I would not set it up, but the angle of the trough that it has now, I would tilt that trough. Okay, I would tilt it up to where that trough is either level or tilt it back a little bit. And the way you're going to be able to tell whether you have the right angle on that trough when you get it there is you when if the feed fills that trough up once you put it in there
hmm
and it stays full, you need to tilt that angle to where to pick the front of the feeder up. You should have feed from about here back once they start eating out of it. Now, when you first fill it up, it's going to fill that whole trough up, no matter how you set that angle, because that's when you pour that bag of feed in there, it's going to shoot down there with gravity, it's going to pull it down into the front of the trough.
okay.
Once they start eating, they're going to eat the front first. Okay, once they get that eat, they're going to move back. And once they get back here, as they eat back here, the feed's coming in. So this part here should be almost empty if you have the feeder set up properly. And to it, the fuller the feeder is, the more feed you're going to get down there because it's got a weight pushing it.
Okay.
And once they start eating it, it's going to lessen that weight. Therefore, the deer can get in there and get the feed out of the front.
And so there's not, on some of the other feeders, you'll see like I don't know what you want to call it, but essentially it'll gauge how much feed that's letting. Like you don't need anything with that. Like I don't have to play
No,
around or
you can
anything with
do
that.
that yourself. I've had people, well, what if I shorten that up where the more feed can't come out? Well, you can do that. The problem is, they're going to eat what he wants anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You could make it that wide. I mean, we used to have a feeder that the chute was that wide, inch and a half. They still emptied it.
Yeah.
They weren't like they couldn't get to it. So you're going to have the same thing here. Uh, if you shorten that gap up, you still gonna get the deer to go back there, and they still gonna get it out. All right, so I mean that won't help you any.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I think it makes it easier, right? And I don't have to
Oh yeah.
worry about shortening the gap or having the gap too long. I think
To
it's like
me,
more of a
this is a self-maintained machine. You don't never have to do anything to it. So put feed in it, and look at your pictures of deer, a big old bucks eating out of it. I mean that's the other thing you'll have to do with it, but other than that, that's about it.
yeah. That's
I,
it's super simple.
Yes, sir. We made it that way. Keep it simple, stupid. But anyway, well, we've had fun. Anything else you can think of really important?
Not really. I mean, you answered a lot of my questions, when we had a
Yeah.
couple of phone calls before and I talked to you about, finding people on the forums and stuff that were talking about you and one thing led to another and I was watching your videos and doing research on, this feeder and other feeders and seeing what the best option was me and I just appreciate you answering all my questions and kind of setting my mind at ease
If you,
because it's an investment. It's not like this is a cheap feeder, right? I mean, you pay for quality,
that's what
right?
people tell me
It's
anyway.
it's 100% American made steel.
Yeah.
Looking at
Made. In
it,
fact, we go into Orlando in the morning and pick up parts for the next load of feeders
yeah,
we're gonna take out. So it's all everything's made here American also.
Exactly, and it's it's built it's built to last, and that's what I was looking at. I didn't want to buy a feeder every year or two
I
like
know what I was
I've
going to
been.
tell you about that. You mentioned it a while ago. We seen on I think Facebook or somewhere where a guy in Georgia was selling, or Alabama was selling 4 feeders. He had to have bought the ones he had 8 or 9 years ago,
Oh
and
wow.
he's actually selling them on there, and people probably bought them. I don't know where he still got them on there or not. So that, I mean, these feeders he's trying to sell to 8, 9, 10 years old, and people probably buy them. I mean, he's got a cheaper price than I
Yeah, I was
would
gonna
with
say
them
you might have to
used
give me that
feeders.
link later. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's all right. I already got your money. Well, buddy, I've
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
yeah, I
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much,
Yeah,
and you have a
absolutely.
wonderful day. And folks, don't hesitate to go and check out the Double D Gravity Deer feeders.